I'm doing it online. Doing it online.
I didn't see anybody but us. Whoop, someone else joined. Yes, we have
This
one.
is Patrick Page.
Hi, Patrick. Thank you. We'll make note.
Thank you. I'll just put on mute and listen.
Do you mind if I put you on mute until we're ready for you?
Yeah, I don't anticipate saying anything, so I'll just, yes, whatever.
I'll keep you on mute. Thank you. And then we'll ask.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome. I'd like to open the meeting of the Jackson County Zoning Board of Adjustment, Monday, July 24th, 2023, 7 p.m. First order of business, call to order and roll call. If you could, roll call, please.
David Kendall,
Present.
Abigail Schuler, present. Daryl DeVore,
Here.
Mike Nickerson,
Here.
and Pete Fish.
Here. Okay, we have the floor.
And may I ask who else is on, please?
Sure.
9412, can you identify and we'll add you to our list of guests? Phone caller at 552-19 or 9412. Can you identify? We'll put you on the roster. Or at least tell us which case you might need information on. I've muted you. Okay,
Okay, I'd like to open the public hearing. Our first one on the docket. It is. Oh, I'm sorry, nope. You approved the minutes. Yep, thank you. Skip the beat. Item number 2, approval of meeting minutes from June 26, 2023. So moved. I'll second it. Is there any questions, comments on the meeting minutes? Good.
No, I reviewed them.
All right, all those in favor of aye? Aye. Those against? Okay, meeting minutes have been approved.
can you make it?
Along with that, just a follow up from our June meeting. We have docket number 23-14, Mike Meyer. It was deferred at our last meeting to obtain some more information by the board. Since then, Mr. Meyer has withdrawn his docket number 23-14, no longer wants to pursue that. So I want to make sure it's on the record that we addressed it here, but he decided to withdraw.
Thank you.
Either. Okay. All right, now I'd like to open the public hearing for docket number 23-16, Mayberry. Do a short version of the proposal to survey the parcel to create a 0.5 acre tract from the current 0.62 acre tract. The minimum lot size in the A1 agricultural zoning district is 2 acres. They plan to sell the approximately 0.5 acre tract. So for that, we have Sue and Jim. Okay, if you would take the podium. Just give us a summary of what's going on. We have all the documents here.
In 1995, we purchased a farm in Lamont. The house at 19180 196th Avenue was part of the farm. After we had moved to another house in 2003, we applied for a variance to sell less than the minimum 2 acres, as that was all that could be sold without compromising our farming operation. Prior to selling the home in 2004, we reserved an easement providing access to our fields, pastures, timber, floodgates, equipment, livestock, and grain storage. Since that time, the size of our farm machinery has increased. Also, several previous owners of the home have illegally restricted our access in several ways, including parking vehicles there. That is why we purchased that home back. And that is why we need to have the lane entrance surveyed and severed from the house. So that doesn't continue to be a deterrent for their farming operation.
Okay. Could we bring up some pictures? I think that always helps.
Yeah.
First one being an overview of the kind of close and back.
This is the current 0.62 acre tract of land. This is the 12.5 foot wide easement that Sue's referencing that they reserved when they did that survey back in 2004.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And the reason why we went with 12.5 feet at that time was because there was a garage, and that was all the width that we get. Since we purchased the home a month ago, we tore down the garage. So that's no longer there. The-
Garage
the-
on the south side there.
Yeah, where the 2 cars are.
So that's
That's gone. That's
Okay.
gone.
all right. So what you're proposing is in front of the committee is to create a kind of a sliced rectangle on the south side of that. Approximately 0.12 acres in size. Create that small rectangle.
Yes, and then attach that to the field. So that would be. Yes.
So that would make the entrance to the field width approximately, it looks like 31 feet, something like that.
Right, which, you want to explain that?
Well, most of the time when we're doing entrances now, we're using 2 16-foot gates. Just to be able to get through with the bigger equipment that we're using compared to what we used to use, you know. A lot of the old gates on the old farms were 12-foot gates, you know, now it's, if you're gonna do it, you should have 2 16-foot gates. And that's what-
You have the kind of planners that they rotate 90 degrees to the direction of travel. You know, long ways, so you can pull them through a narrow gate, or you have to get them the
Well,
full width.
yeah, some things are, it's like, some of the heads, the beam heads, the sprayers. Equipment's expensive, and the guys that are running the sprayers, they don't wanna bang into a corner post or, you know, they wanna find, and it's usually it's a rush deal when you're going in to put the crops in. And the way I'm set up there, I run from one field to another. I'm set up that I'm pretty contiguous on everything, but I still gotta go from one field to another. You know, you wanna be as quick and efficient as you can to do it. And for everybody else involved too, to have that, so. That's why we wanna add to the width of the gate, the width of the entrance.
So you're looking at a maximum of about 31 feet required in there,
I
probably
thought-
based on the drive.
I
the
thought,
drawing.
right in that area.
Yeah, and that's a rough estimate.
Yeah, very rough.
Know that they want to keep at least, they probably want to get as close as 11 feet to the house. But no closer than 11 feet to the house, correct? Okay.
23 or 32? The width of you're proposing the width of the easement to be,
Well, not really an easement. They are proposing a survey.
right, a piece of land, 23 or 32,
Roughly
30 feet.
30 feet wide, okay.
30 feet wide north and south, and the length from the gate back to the road. And just the question, is that the only entrance to that field? No other way to get in there?
It is, if you look to your left, that's where grain storage and buildings and right there. That's, over the years, I've owned this for almost 30 years or so, and I have, we've built all those roads. They were not there when we got the farm. We built the roads to go to the fields back there, and, you know, they are heavily used. You see the road there, and there's 2 ponds. We built it across there. A lot of conservation work, a lot of hours on bulldozers. All new fences.
For clarification on the application, it has the Zeelis still on there. Is that an error
No, that was, at the time of the application, that was correct information. The closing had not gone through, the transfer had not gone through, so that's what we had to use at the time of the
or, but
application.
now it has?
Correct,
Okay.
and you can see on the map, it's also,
Okay.
it is showing up them now,
That's what I thought.
yeah, but the transfer wasn't done at the time of
So
application.
prior to your purchase, you had a 12.5 foot easement over their property that you reserved when you sold it 20 or 30 years ago. I understand now.
Back to the neighboring property there behind the gentleman that owns the shed there. There still needs to be an easement maintained for him to have access to that shed.
His access is with the cemetery commission. And that's to the left of, down south of your box, your red box that has been drawn. That is his easement. That's the only easement he's ever had. He's never had an easement to go on the lane.
So that's down here at the the south edge of the cemetery, right?
Right there.
Where that
That's
tube-
his easement.
Where that tube is in the road. I mean, there's like a 24-inch galvanized tube. And can you move the picture up or?
What are,
Is there a fence?
what are you?
The other corner of the cemetery maybe is,
This-
but there is a culvert there as well. There always has been a long culvert right to the right of your arrow. That culvert takes care of that ditch along the cemetery.
So his easement really was never meant to be that whole length, because at the time the two parcels were together. But that parcel, the shed, was illegally sold. And it did not go through the board of variance, and so we did not have the chance to make an objection.
So where's their access to that?
They have 15 feet from here to Heathwoods. That is what is on the plat that split parcel F off. It shows a 15-foot wide easement. Also, I believe that is all in your packets, showing parcel F, the easement that was there, and then also the information from, I believe it was the trustee, or excuse me, the township trustees at the time, who was in charge of that cemetery. However, may I read you an excerpt from I'll read you the email that came from the county, assistant county attorney. I questioned that easement, the 15-foot wide easement that has never been used. And that Mr. Page has been using it for at least 10 years, the 12.5 foot wide easement. This one, the current driveway, for the last, since he bought it over 10 years ago. So my response, or the response John Brackey gave me was, given the amount of time the owner of parcel F has been using the easement, he may have created an easement by prescription. Unfortunately, there would need to be more facts to be established that he had actually created an easement by prescription, but the court would have to make that determination if he had in fact created an easement. And that 12-foot wide, that part there.
And he's got a fence line there. I see that, I mean,
Yeah, there is a fence line there.
okay.
But where the 15-foot wide easement supposedly is, isn't that rather a severe slope?
It is. He does have there is another entrance that he can use to access his
Is that the
property.
one?
Either
north?
at the back end of the cemetery property, or the neighbors that sold that shed property, their land. So there's several, and that would not be any longer distance. And two, normally when you have an easement, like, the easement we had for ourselves, we maintain that road. He's done nothing to maintain at all. Over the
But
years.
nobody stopped him from using it either.
Well, we don't know because we're not there. We haven't been there all the time. either.
it's been sold like 4 other times, and the realtors really didn't make it clear, and so people didn't realize that where their land was, that the cemetery actually, how far that came down.
When you resurvey this, how come you can't resurvey in some additional land and make it 2 acres?
Probably because of the drain field, septic tank.
What's that got to do with it?
So the only way that we can get additional acreage, we can't go west because that's the highway. We don't own any more land. We can't go south because of the cemetery. We can't go north because that is owned by the neighbor Cosel. So the only would be west, and that is a straight slope down to our,
Well, they can survey that.
we can't give up that access, our road getting into our,
That puts us on a steep hill to where we have to get in and out of the equipment on a steep hill. And that was one of the reasons they granted that 12-foot easement to begin with. Because they didn't want us, we didn't want to get out on that steep hill. And that's the only flat place there is where we have it right now. So we can get in and out of the vehicles, open the gate instead of getting.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. You could give additional land back there that come within and make it compliant.
I just did a rough
Well, I
for
think-
what you were asking for, Daryl, on the screen right now. That's a little big, that's pulling like 2.5 acres, what I just sketched in. Still giving the Mayberries their 30-foot wide easement. Or 30-foot wide, tract of land that they want to keep. This is rocky then.
but by what you were doing there, that still doesn't solve the problem of people blocking our entrance getting into the field.
How do you propose to prevent people from blocking the driveway?
How do we propose? What's private property?
Well,
What do you do when you have private property and somebody parks on it, I guess. Yeah. I'm not gonna live there. It's gonna be rented out. The house is gonna be rented, so.
I guess I do want to mention that shed, the owner of the shed resides in Florida. And doesn't live there.
They're not our concern.
I'm just saying that, you're worried, you seem to be concerned about him having access and, that
This,
and
and
compromising the security of our farm.
as far as the farm goes, it's a permanent farm.
So if you're gonna rent it out, then why would we even need to? If you're gonna still maintain ownership of it, why would we need to even section any of that off? And you can still put your fence up at the east, on the line.
I'm not gonna put a fence up. I'm just gonna open and make a 30-foot gate there. I'm not building any fence. I just want, to be able to get in and out of there,
But I want to explore her question because we understood that you wanted to section off that 0.12 acres and sell the remaining half.
We want the option to be able to sell it. Yes, we do.
Our hope is that one of the kids come back, what it really boils down to, and they're gonna have a place to live. They do, I got 2 boys that are wanting to get back here. And they're gonna get rent free if they do. Thomas, through with one of your boys. That's our hope, and that they do come back, and that's one of the reasons we wanna have it set up for them and future generations.
But if that doesn't happen, for example, Jen, if you do want to sell the property, you want to retain that right to do that in the future. But any future buyers would know, first of all, your property line comes up within 11 feet of the south edge of the house.
Correct.
And there's not really a good place either on the south side or the back side for them to build even a 1-car garage.
Could be put on the back if you took the deck off. You know,
Could be right in the front yard too. It's a very large front yard. It's being unused, so.
Okay,
When we lived there first, that's one of the places I thought I'm gonna put a garage right out front. Kind of make a nice buffer to the highway noise. Being kind of a natural spot there for it. As far as the septic tank, and we put a new septic tank in, and drain field, that's all on the west end of the house. That's all brand new. I got it's new, it's newer from what was there before.
so my understanding from the document is really kind of two issues. One is to approve or not approve the 0.12 acre survey, cutting that property from 0.62 to 0.5.
Roughly,
But by doing that, that creates now an 11-foot setback distance instead of the required 30.
15 on the side.
15 on the
Yeah.
side, now it's down to 11 to that side of the house on the south.
Correct.
So there's really two issues. here.
Correct. Yeah.
But the first one drives the second.
correct,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Further questions, comments?
No, but before you close the public meeting, I'll see if any of these, phone calls,
Sure.
do you want me to look now?
Yep, let's go ahead. Anybody that's on Zoom or on the phone,
I'm gonna unmute, I'm gonna unmute the 0585 to see if you want to add any comments. Actually, I'm not able to unmute you, 0585, if you can unmute yourself.
I believe that was Mr. Page.
I think it was Mr. Page, so, oh, there you go. All right, you have.
There I go. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. So my name's Patrick Page. And as stated.
Patrick, hold on for
I
just a
own-
second. Just a second, we gotta
Okay.
turn some volume here.
Okay,
Now we're good? I think, go ahead and try that.
is that better?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my name's Patrick. I do own the building south, or I'll say west of the cemetery. I've owned it for over 10 years, and as I stated in my letter, Mayberry, Page, and Castle have all used that gravel road to get to our respective properties. Castle goes through my property in order to cut and bale their hay, which I allow and make access for, and everything is good. I am landlocked, as you can see, and I'm very confident that I do have a right to the most direct route to my property from a road. And what we've got is the most direct route to the road. That is the way the Iowa statute is written. I understand Jim's and Sue's request to have security for their property, as we all do. And like I said, I've been there for over 10 years. I've never seen Jim lock the gate to his property in 10 years. And because he has gates right where my property and the newly acquired Mayberry house property, that's 0.62 acres, meet. And I am certainly want security for my building too. I have my stuff in it, and I do have a home in Iowa, other properties that I am go to. I try to make it up there at least once a month, and take care of things, make sure things are secure. But I don't begrudge Jim or Sue wanting to secure that avenue for themselves. I understand that. What I don't want to see is them denying my access. Yeah, I don't want them to see them denying my access, which we've had for over 10 years. And that's all. He can put a gate on the, just close the gate he's got. And I understand, I've never seen him not be able to get in there, but I understand if he's got a big piece of equipment and the people who have rented or owned that property could have had a car or something there that blocked him. I honestly have never seen it, and it'd be unfortunate, but I understand him wanting to do it. And I want him to be able to get his equipment back there. I just don't want him to lock me out of my property. And I think if, it's a reasonable accommodation on his part to say, we're going to have a 30-foot property and we're not going to put a gate or a fence to block Patrick out. I mean, we're going to put a gate where there is a gate already. Done. I get my property, he gets his security, he gets his 30 feet. I'm good with that. And I don't understand why that would be not a point. But the way he stated it in his proposal is that, he's going to put a fence up, and he told me personally, I'm going to put a fence up and I'm going to block you from getting to your property. I said, Jim, it's 4 feet. It's not that big a deal. You can put a gate there. And I can't, as stated before, going around the cemetery or through the cemetery up is not the most direct route. And they're not, Norma's not, Miss Castle's not going to give me, build a road through her property. The road already exists. And I understand the easement by exception that was brought up, and the county attorney, stating he's not sure. I'm sure the Iowa law is very clear for landlocked properties, very clear. And I would rather not go through the legal system. Neighbors don't do that. Neighbors work with each other to, get things done. I fully appreciate Jim and Sue wanting security and access to their property. I hope they want the same for me. And that's all I'm asking for, is to say, if the variance is granted and they block me out, my only recourse is to sue them and get a condemnation, which your county attorney, apparently, he didn't say I didn't have a case. He just said he needed more facts. The facts are very clear. I've owned the property for more than 10 years. We've all used it. All the neighbors have used that road, and that makes it a legal, I apologize, I can't remember the law, the word, but it's there. It's an established easement, not an easement. It's an access point. So I want Sue and Jim to get what they want: wider access and security for their buildings down below. I want them to have that. However, I can't be in favor of it if it blocks my access, which I've had for over 10 years. And that's it.
Patrick, may I, with permission of the board chair, may I just add a little bit of
Please.
context here? You do realize, Patrick, that whether the variance is granted or not, they would still own that property. So whether it's granted or not, I'm sure their action would be, whatever their action is, would be the same whether it was granted or not. So that your access isn't hinging on whether the variance is granted or not granted. Did I say that right? Mine?
100%. Oh,
Okay.
certainly, 100% agreed. I
Okay.
understand that. What I'm
Okay.
trying to get across is that their request for a variance very, 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 as they've stated, very, very negatively impacts me. And I strongly believe that the law allows me access to my building as it is landlocked, the most direct route. I appreciate that what this committee does will not have any impact on what Jim and Sue do, right? They have the property, they can do things. I appreciate that. What I don't necessarily want to do is, I'll say, make it easier for them, harder for me. You know, all I want to do is be a neighbor. That's it. I mean, the access road is there. Jim's not going to change the access road. Everything is there. Everything is fine. I'm not sure why he wants to block me out. I honestly, I'm not sure. You'd have to ask Jim and Sue why they want to block my access. And I could have sworn I heard Sue that said that I illegally purchased this property. I didn't do anything illegal, but I do own the property and I want to be a good neighbor. I do. And I was, you know, I've been tried to be, various people have owned that brick house over the years. And Jim and the owners of the homes in the past, as apparently stated, have blocked him from accessing his property down below. I've never done that. I've tried to be nothing but a good neighbor out there. That's all I want to be. I don't know why Jim and Sue want to block me out when it really, if they're worried about security, they can put a gate where their gate is now and make it a little wider, whatever. And we're all good. And I do understand and I appreciate that this hearing is like a first step. And like I said, all I want to do is be a good neighbor and not make things difficult. I want Jim and Sue to be able to get their equipment down there.
All right, thank you, Mr. Page. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
I'm gonna mute you and then I'm gonna go to the other call and see if they are wanting to speak on this case. So the caller at 552-9412, if you have any comments on this case, please unmute yourself at this time. I'm gonna say that caller is not concerned with this case or has no comments, so we will
All right,
leave that.
all right. Public hearing is still open, so any other people in the audience like to comment on this?
Do we have a copy of Patrick's easement through the cemetery?
It's in your packet. Here, let me just, I can pull up on the screen too with my information.
I mean, the topography doesn't let you do it, but with Patrick's 15 feet and the current 12.5 feet, which really doesn't exist anymore, you get 27 feet. Is the easement restricted so that it can't be shared?
I want to think it was.
Okay.
Let's just find that real quick, because we have it in here. And that's Mayberry's, when they did their survey back 20+ years ago. And that is parcel F information. This is the sign off sheet for parcel F. This is the survey for parcel F, and I'm going to try to bring it in a little bit.
David, just a couple pages before the first color pictures.
So this is that survey. And then going down further, you can see right here, there is a 15-foot access point. And, it gives the instrument number of that easement, and I should have that easement instrument right here. So that is the agreement that was put into place by the township trustees back in 2007. Regarding. Here, I haven't looked at this since I put it in the packet, so.
It was a condemned easement then?
No, I don't believe it was. Where do you see condemned?
Bottom
Do
of
you-
the second paragraph, thick one that says there'll be a 15-foot easement.
I wonder why the township trustees were involved, unless it was a condemned easement, but.
The township trustees were involved because they were in charge of the
I think
cemetery.
they were acting as owners of the cemetery.
That was before it became a pioneer cemetery,
Okay.
but, so it granted the, first party, so the leaches, as joint tenants in full rights of survivorship and not as tenants in common, party of the second part. So it granted them, and I'm looking for, and then at the bottom, said easement shall be 15 feet in width, and said easement shall ensure the benefit of the grantees and their successors and assignees.
But it allows it to be assigned too. It says, 15 feet wide, but said easement shall endure to the benefit of the grantees, their successors and assignees.
So this assignee, you're saying, could
Yes.
sign 15 feet to the, whoever they wanted to?
Right. But I mean, the topography doesn't work. I mean, it's a steep bank. It comes down at a 45-degree angle.
Well, for a short distance it is, but then it does kind of level out though as you go west.
Okay.
You know, a person could park back in there if they had to, it's leveling up back in there. I guess I wish you guys would have come out and looked at it.
I looked at it today.
I like that.
Oh, you did?
They,
Yeah.
I think they all have.
Okay.
I also noticed that the county road's only 18 feet wide at that point too.
Yeah.
So if a combine was 23 feet wide, it'd be,
A power pole right there in that corner where almost took numerous times.
So my understanding, Lauren, just so I can make sure I'm clear, the whole issue with parcel F and potential sharing of easements or whatever you do is really not the jurisdiction of what we're
That's
talking
correct.
or voting on.
That is correct. So you're not voting
It's totally
on,
independent of what we decide,
absolutely,
and whatever happens beyond that, that's between.
the neighbors. Yeah.
We understand.
Yeah, so whether you grant them the easement or grant them the variance or don't grant the variance, it's all in Mayberry's court, what happens to that easement.
but potentially if he approves this 15-foot wide easement and you have a 30 or 23 or a 30-foot wide road, now we're gonna have a 50-foot wide road through there.
No,
What we're hoping is that the cemetery will relocate the vinyl fence down onto the property line. On the property.
on their property line.
Well, therefore, how could they do that? They would block his easement then.
He doesn't,
Yeah, I
he
know.
doesn't, no, he would still, yeah,
He's got this easement, they can't fence his easement
I
out.
suppose they could have a gate in there for him to get through, you know, to go that way, or he could come around the other way too, because there is a road up around through the Castle place. They used it,
Yeah.
they've used it forever, you know. As far as baling hay, they've never used my lane to get back in there to bale hay
No.
twice. Use their own property to do it. So there is another route to go in there, but I mean, we have to work that out later with it, but we just, you know, we're here for one reason and one reason only, and that is to get the grant. They have a 30-foot wide easement.
So just so I understand, I'm clear, it's a little miscommunication, what was written, what you said. is you're doing this to ensure that in the future, you have a 30-foot wide path to your fields.
Unblocked.
Yeah, in
Unblocked.
case you sell that property.
Sell the house, but I have, to
Right.
be honest,
You
I
have
have
to-
no intention of selling that house at this
Okay.
point.
But something could happen and
We want the option if we want to sell.
somebody walks in and offers you $1 million, you've got it sold.
If I go down
Just,
tomorrow and I can't farm anymore, there's things that can, yeah, we just have to look towards the future on that. That's why we're doing it here at the courthouse.
okay. And that's in place, that track.
Needed in place, correct, correct.
And then that creates 11-foot setback from the north property line, so they require 15 for whoever in the future would possibly buy that house, they know going in.
Yeah.
That's part of the property.
That's gotta be in the legal description or some kind of description when they look at the property.
Okay,
We understand that we're not trying to hide anything.
sure.
And then
Alright.
if you grant an easement to whoever buys it, how would they get in?
There could be another road put in. That would be the plan. We can access, the road in there.
Okay, any other further questions from the board? Hearing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second. Any other further comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed. Committee discuss. Thoughts? Comments?
I mean, it just, the lot just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. It was a variance in the first place to make it as small as it was, and now it's getting smaller. And do we have septic tank issues or septic field issues?
No, that's all behind the home.
Septic fields,
I got a picture of it here showing where
it's on the far, it's on the north side there.
on the west
West
side,
side.
west side of the house.
Okay.
And there is an easement that I granted that it actually, the drain, the field is right out there, which is separate, already separate from the.
It's on part of the other parcel, yeah.
Yeah, that's on my, my main farm, so I granted that to the leaches, the leaches, they bought the property.
So just so I'm clear, you own the field to the west and to the north of that line. Right.
Yeah.
So if you want to get back to a 2-acre property with this smaller segment there, it just goes up into what you already own. You're just reserving boundary and an artificial or virtual boundary into your property. Right?
There is it is a drain off of the lane that we have a pond installed, so we really can't, that's what helps maintain that road for us. So we really can't sell that, we can't add that on there to sell 2 acres and give away that drainage where somebody would fill that in.
Well, no, I'm not complaining you have to sell it, but if you wanted to get back to the county minimum 2 acres, you'd have to resurvey something into that
That's why I'm
northwest.
saying we can't do that without taking that drainage area that we have. Can you explain that better?
Maybe, I guess I'm not understanding, if you have to just create a new property line, it creates 2 acres.
That would be my thought, but it would have to come up into here is what your concern is, Sue.
Yeah, because that is all, it's actually a pond, but it's more of that we had built so for the water to run off, so
That down there is actually more of a wetland.
it's a wetland, I guess you should say, yeah.
It was a pond that developed into a wetland.
So that whole area right there, where your arrow is, all around is, that's wetland area.
That's a wetland.
Okay. Any other thoughts? I mean, I understand your point that we're now subdividing 2 into 0.62 into 0.5 and 0.12. Making smaller and smaller pieces. It's still under the same ownership. So. the real contention, when contention, the issue becomes down the line, if you do sell that half acre to some other person, then they have to deal with it. The fact that it's a half acre in a property that should have been two to begin with for the county rules a long time ago, but yet that's already been taken care of.
If we were to sell it, if we, found out we had to sell it, would I be able to negotiate a deal with the buyer and say, sweeten the deal, I will add this much back here to it? You want more land to make the deal on? There's something more here. It's gonna be tough, the way that lays out there, I don't know.
Any further questions and further thoughts on a motion, one way or the other?
I guess my only thought is that a variance needs to show hardship, and it doesn't look like there was hardship in 1999 that they couldn't come up with 2 acres on a survey. They owned the land, there should have been 2 acres. A variance shouldn't have been given then. I don't think we should be reducing the variance today from 6.6 to 0.5. They're gonna have to come up with a different plan.
Well, what they did in 1999, obviously, we can't. undo
Right.
That.
That's right.
Right.
And one of the things, if you'll notice on page 2, in reviewing the above application for the variance, the zoning board of adjustment shall make findings that the following requirements of section 2.15.3A, E, and F have all been met. And down here, number 3, that the special conditions and circumstances do not result in the actions of the applicant. And the lot and the configuration were created by the Mayberries back when they did the survey a couple decades ago.
I make a motion to deny variance.
I'll second it. Yeah,
All right. Docket number 2316 application.
Who was that second?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Comments? Other questions? Pete? Okay. All right, hearing no other comments or questions, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of denying docket number 23-116, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion has passed to deny docket 23-116. All right. Next. I'd like to open up the public hearing for docket number 2317. He's laughing because there's some extra language I had to put in. This is docket 2317, proposed by Angela Rulli. His proposal is requested Angela Rulli revocable trust be granted special exemption 2317. Create a 2-family conversion in A1 agricultural zoning district. Angela? All right,
Stand behind the podium too.
sure. The front center.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Mhm.
So I'm sure you have everything in your packets,
Mhm.
so.
What we want to do is, I'm sure Lori's pulling it up on weekends, so you can visually see it. The property that we live at was my homestead that I grew up on. And so when my dad passed away in 2013, my husband and I made the decision to move home. In 1988, my dad built the big long gray building. It's a Wick machine shed. And he had a business called Water's Gun Archery in it. And so when he passed away, we chose to renovate this building into our home. The long-term plan was that my mom lives in the house just to the north of that. And so the long-term plan is that as she ages, that we can keep her in her home for long term. Moving forward in the future, she's 73 years old and she wants a garage, and we have some things that we need to do to update the property. We are aware that we have to put in a septic system. So we would like to convert to a, what is it legally called? I keep forgetting, I'm sorry, 2-family conversion. So what we would do would be to build a garage between our properties to connect them. This would enable us to go back and forth, because we go back and forth multiple times a day between my mom's house and our house. In bad weather, winters, whatever, we do not have a tornado shelter in our home, so we go to my mom's. So we are constantly going back and forth. As mom ages, or if there's emergency situations, we have easier access instead of going through whatever's going on outside. I know that it's talked about in the packet about the septic system, so I don't know, Lori, if that's something that I need to mention that goes along with this or not. Or no.
You could just kind of,
Just
overview it, just overview it, yeah.
Okay. Because we are moving into this and we need to upgrade our septic system, the current code is because we are 2-family dwellings separate, we have to put in 2 separate septics. By doing this conversion, we would have to put in 1 septic system that needs to be in our codes, and we have been in contact with the health department and figuring all of this out. We feel that the building was built in 1988. Mom's house is from the 1880s. And longevity wise, we feel like moving forward, the best option for keeping upkeep up in place, whatever happens with either one. We have 1 septic system, and mom being 73, if she would pass away, we would have 2 septics, and that seems weird. We're paying for 2 septic systems and what's not being used. So we just felt moving forward, the garage would be the greatest safety for our family moving forward. Helping take care of mom. She can park right there. Currently, she sometimes parks in our building. Sometimes currently she's parking on the south end of the barn because the tree leaks. And so she doesn't like her van to be covered with sap and stuff. So this also provides her a place for her items. She doesn't have to go upstairs. She can store stuff right there on a single place. She can go to our house without going outside. We can go to her house. We had talked about moving forward. We don't plan on selling the property. Moving forward, even with our kids, we have this capability of keeping our kids in a place. And so that's something that we'd like to keep investing in the property, because it's been in our family since my parents bought it in 1970 is when my parents bought it. And dad took a lot of pride in building that shed in 1988. And so I want to make sure that we can add to the value of the place by putting the garage and a single septic, that mom has what she needs moving forward, that we can keep her home. I actually work from home, so I have this opportunity to help care for her moving forward, and we just feel like this is the next step that we need to do to take care of the septic and then put in the garage, because one hinges on the other. We can't do one without the other. So that's why we are here tonight.
I just got a rule question on that. So when it becomes a single or 2-family dwelling unit, something happens in the future where that 1888 property now becomes vacant, can they turn around and rent that, or?
That is not what we want to do, just so you know.
Okay, I understand that, but,
Yes, and that would be a non-issue,
okay,
because it's like an apartment house or a 2-story house that where the downstairs is 1 unit, the upstairs is another, and they're designed for 2 separate families.
so it basically is a duplex.
pretty much, yeah, another way
Separate
we're,
families pay separate bills. I understand you don't want to do that, but just want to make sure that all the rules work. Okay.
Could we restrict the variance to prohibit that?
I don't know that you could.
Yeah.
Or could you? I don't really know, but. I mean, being sold, yes, they wouldn't be able to sell that without a survey being done if they're combined, you know, but at the same time, most two-family conversions are set up for two-family
Right.
dwellings and one to be rented or both to be rented.
Is your mom's septic system not up to code? Is that why, I'm just, so you guys are already living in a shed? So. And your mom's still living in the house, but you only have one septic system now, correct? So where's the septic for the shed currently?
They are together because when everything was built in 1980, whatever, everybody was.
Okay, so your mom's septic does not meet code.
Septic meets code.
So what
Septic
happened?
functions.
Yeah, and explain how we got here, because like,
Okay. Long story short, there was an issue with a neighbor and their drainage was going into our yard. And so when they came out to look at it, it was discovered that we are two families on one septic.
gotcha.
And that does not meet code. Correct. The septic is functioning fine. It's just not, it doesn't drain according to Jackson County code. So that is why all of these things started being talked about, like what can we do moving forward to take care of both problems? So one hinges on the other.
So garage or septic, the septic.
So if we can become the conversion and we can do what she wants to do long-term and put her garage in, then we put in a single septic system that meets code. So we've been talking to Elizabeth. If we can't build the garage, we have to put in a septic and my mom has to put in a septic. They have to be two.
Gotcha.
separates.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Do you share a well at this time?
I'm sorry?
You share a well?
Yes, everything is connected.
Electric service, propane gas, no issues with that.
Yeah.
That's all part of the deal. Okay. All right.
How far back from the road or the road right away are you gonna build the garage?
We've kind of been discussing that. There's currently a cement pad that sits there. So the septic is currently between the buildings. So that's why I said everything hinges on one another. So that's part of like, once we know what we're doing, then deciding, because we want to fall within what we need to. So if farther, it'd be like it's really hard to see on that picture. You kind of want it like it's gonna be past that cement pad that's already there.
Correct, it's about like where the board is from, and we don't have any plans per se at this point of what it is. It's gonna be in that spot, but how far back? Because like she said, obviously, the existing septic has to move before we could do any dirt work survey of.
So either way, there's gonna be a new septic.
Yeah.
What's the minimum setback requirement from the garage to the road?
Well,
15 feet.
that's still actually, it should be more than that. It should be, I believe, 40 for our, for A1. However, there's other, legal nonconformities in place that is gonna work in their favor. Because, and I did want to just make sure, I have in here too, about that, the setbacks, my recommendation of the board is that you would place a restriction not to be able to build any further east than this point on the original house. And not any further, whichever's, the greatest, not any further east than this point on the shed. So whether it's a porch, a garage, any type of structure, I would recommend it not extend past those points. Because if you even draw a straight line here, roughly,
So then what's the distance to the east from your point, Laura?
That's what I wanted to do is just kind of, I mean, parking here is an issue anyway. It's old, it's part of the original Mill Rock. And any of us that ever driven down there, Daryl, you're probably more familiar with this area than any of us. But anyway, so if that was the case, and your most furthest east point was this corner of the building, you'd be giving yourself about 20-ish feet to park not into the right of way. I mean, you're right up to it at 20 feet. 20 feet's a decent, if you're nosed up to a garage door, 20 feet is a decent length to keep, the parking off the
Car
road.
length.
It's about a car length, yeah.
Super cab Ford, but it's.
No, it's not a super cab Ford distance. Yeah, but that would,
Aerial view is very deceiving. It is wider there than what that aerial view actually showed.
okay, I would still recommend to my board that they make a condition not to extend more east than those spots for any type of construction.
So the southeast corner of the older property, Alice, to the
Right,
northeast corner of the newer property.
yeah, whatever's the furthest east, it looks like this is furthest east, so I would say that would be,
I would just use the southeast corner of the old structure.
okay. All right.
Okay.
So if you guys chose to make that motion, that is what my recommendation would be, knowing that road, knowing the proximity to the road, the right of way, and just try to create any additional problems from occurring.
But just so I'm clear, Lori, if we approve that with that condition and they build it there, and we find out, or they find out that no, you had to have 30-foot of setback instead of the 20 that we measured, they have to come back for a variance on that.
No, they're already legally non-conforming because basically this is already something we don't want to recreate.
Yeah, it's right on the property.
Right, but if you, for safety's sakes, if you guys did, opt to use this corner no further east than, or this corner no further east than, you're creating a little safety buffer that would, not only protect the Ruley family and the Waters family, but also, anyone using that road and any future owners.
Okay.
With what Lori is describing there, would that work for what you were?
That's what we were talking about anyway. So the edge of, you can't see it because of the tree. Where she parks right now, the front of your van or the back of your van goes right up to that point. So if that garage would sit,
Yeah,
it would sit right back where
we'd
you're talking.
actually be parking
Farther.
10 foot, 12 foot further back when you think about it in a garage than what's actually legally non-conforming.
But building the edge, like you said, that is exactly where, because it has to attach that, like everything needs to sit flush to the attached buildings as well.
Yeah.
Because we also are trying to strategically place where we're going to, because they have to be enterable by all buildings. And we understand that. So like how that's going to work as well. Because the terrain will fall farther back. So yes, that would work exactly where it needs to.
And when I'm talking about making the recommendation asking the board's recommendation be to the house corner, not the porch corner.
Yeah,
Correct.
Okay,
yeah, that's correct.
okay.
Okay,
Can I say something?
absolutely.
I'm Karen Waters. I've lived there since 1970. I've never had a garage. I would like to have someplace to put my car inside. Either the walnuts are falling on it, the sap is coming off the walnut tree, snow removal, everything else. I just would like to have a garage. When my husband and I moved there in 1970, it was just the house that you just showed down there. I'll say in the 80s, Barry and I put up that building that you can see. At that time, I know Barry came into the courthouse, I'm not sure who we talked to, but he did get a variance then that was granted to put the building up. And so, as far as I'm concerned, everything is legal with that. This garage that we're talking about putting up will set back from the road farther than what the building is. So I can see no problems with, people driving by as long as they obey the speed limit past there. There is a speed limit there of 35 miles per hour. So I just wanted to add that to the discussion.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Any other comments, Angie? Are they all covered?
I was just going through just the report and everything that you were talking about, and Lori kept talking about the legal non-conforming, so, I mean, you covered like the big things that were the discussions that she and I had. So, no, I don't, if you don't have any more questions, I don't.
All right. Anyone else in the audience? Any comments? All right. Seeing none or hearing none, thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Have a motion? Second. And a second. Questions, comments? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Public hearing is closed. More discussion? Pretty straightforward to me. Now, especially since the existing house is pretty much right up against the road. Just imagining people going by there 35 with your house being,
Well, we have
5 feet
something
away.
by way faster than 35. Well,
Really?
It's an 18-wheeler.
that would stay there for structure a little bit.
Yeah, you hear it.
All right.
Control is great.
Mhm.
I made the motion to grant special exception 2317. With the special exception, the front of the building is no more east than the southeast corner of the original house. Excluding the porch.
Okay. Get that all recorded.
Yeah, just make note that as a condition, and
As a condition, what did I say?
it's another special.
Oh,
exception.
sorry.
That's okay.
You got it all. I'm pretty impressed to get all the directions. and pointers.
You did good.
I was cheating off her notes. Okay.
All right. So if you would, we would just read back the motion, make sure we have it. Clear and correct.
So motion by Fish to approve the special exception, as a condition, the front of the building or the garage, garage. Will be no greater than the southeast corner of the original house excluding the porch.
To the east.
Southeast corner.
Yeah, go into the east, not extend past the southeast corner.
Okay.
The east side of the building do not extend past southeast corner of the existing structure.
I'll second it for discussion. Does the staff have any further recommendations other than that condition?
Not that.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion 23-117 for Louis has been heard. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'd like to open the public hearing for docket number 23-118 Everhart. The proposal is to build a new yard shed / garage with a 2-foot side yard setback where a 10-foot minimum side yard setback is required in the R1 residential zoning district. Speaking on behalf of this is
Dustin.
Dustin.
Yep.
That's Everhart, very good. Yeah, we got the document, summary of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Idaho Valley property up there, but we're just pretty limited on where we can build and I guess my variance request primarily, which to go closer than the 10-foot setback would be to avoid driving over our current septic system that's in there.
Oh, shoot, sorry, guys.
And then this is north of Savannah. Oh, sorry, the whole view.
Yeah, straight east to St. Natus.
Okay.
So you have to look it up, I think, under our address, it doesn't.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask,
39707.
I'm sorry, say it again.
39707.
I was like, no, there's a way to do this. I was just. Not like this.
Try Idaho Valley Homeowners Association under your property owner. I've done the same thing in trouble.
Satellite imageries can be pretty tough regardless of all the trees, but so. The property directly south of us has the yard shed 2 foot off the property line. They got a variance. The next one south of them has a yard shed right on the property line, which you can't see trees. All right, there you can see Forrest's current yard shed right there. That one's 2 foot off. And the biggest thing now, which I don't know if this has to be tabled or get approved upon, if we can figure out something with Maquoketa Valley, because there's a power pole. Okay, there's a picture of it.
Let me pull up your packet. It's gonna be in there, I'm sure.
Yeah, we do have a picture looking
Okay.
kind of towards the backyard of this like.
So it'd be the furthest power pole you can see back there to the right, pretty much just the LP tank. You can just see the 2 foot distance between their shed there. Their biggest concern, is getting access to that pole. Which, after talking to them today, we're like, well, we're not gonna get anything figured out before tonight's meeting, obviously. So we can meet later this week, it sounded like, and see if we got an option as far as boring, because that power pole, there's just one wire that goes to it, and it goes down and it serves 2 of the cabins down below. So whether it's an option to move it, the power pole further west, so it'd be like in front of the new yard shed, so they can still access it, or if we can bore from the road where the transformer pole is, to take that wire down to.
So Scoville and Costafader?
Yeah.
That's for your service,
No, it's
No.
their service.
for somebody else's. service.
Yeah, our service comes off the transformer pole right at the road. That's that one right there.
And so are there wires between that pole and the transformer pole?
Yes. There's one wire, one set of wires, that goes from the transformer pole to that pole. And then it goes down to the bottom of the block and splits off. There's one of those 2 cabins down there.
Did they offer to pay for that?
Didn't get very far today. He just kept, well, I can't tell you much over the phone today.
Yeah.
So you might get an okay from us, and they might tell you absolutely not yet.
Right.
Okay.
So that's why I didn't know if we could make a contingent on, them emailing or something, if they come up with a solution as far as. We can make this work, because I realize I gotta get in there, something happens, They want 10 feet on either side, but every single one is about 2 feet from the power pole.
Right.
Ours would just be the only one that's, we're gonna have one on each side. But-
It's kind of started, the first house got a variance for their Tony Hill's yard shed is right on the property line. And then Ports's property in 2012, that property was granted a variance to be right on the property line. So now as we go down the road, everybody's stuff is right on property lines. That has become
the issue.
Is this the only property though that has a power pole as an issue that's providing service to the east?
No, I think it's like every 2 lots, there's a set of important poles that go down, supply power to the lower caverns.
Do they have their internet access on that too?
No.
We
There's
have,
no
a
internet.
map. We have a map of all of them. I think that's on the map for maybe it was.
Yeah, we have all,
It wouldn't go over any internet. We have-
all the easements for from Lamont are here. Lamont's all underground, but Coconut Valley has above ground getting to there, but then it's all underground from there. So there's no above ground internet once Coconut Valley got to the property. Yeah, the only thing overhead there would be the power. Like I said, I know they gotta have, we're gonna figure out something different on the power issue, obviously. Either moving it the pole west to where they can get to it, or except we can bore from the first pole down to the very bottom pole, you know.
Go underground.
There's everything, yeah, correct. And then the 2-foot wouldn't be an issue either way.
Dustin, I do have a question. To go back to your hand drawing of the proposed site, we could just think it's a page before I picture it. There it is. What's restricting you from moving that shed further away from the property?
The septic. So we would have, so,
I see the septic tank, the
right,
septic field. The drain field is,
the drain field goes east from there as well. So,
This one?
yeah, it would stop pretty much right at the corner of the house. Because it's like around. It goes into a D box, and then Dan Nickel told me that the septic, the drain field is more of a vertical rock based drain field.
And the house is there. I mean, if we go 2 or 10 feet over, I mean, that this is that.
No, 10 feet, the biggest concern is the septic. We're gonna have to move the LP
You have a
tank
sand filter system?
currently.
No, we did not have, no. That's a newer,
It's just,
That's a newer requirement from the sounds of things. I know there was a couple new homes that were built that did have to have the.
I don't know like that cocoa filter.
yeah, that's why it limits the size of your septic, if when you can't, your leach field go out.
So we're 100 feet north and south is kind of what everybody has there. We're deeper, but I mean, so on the east side of the house, we're gonna have to go retaining wall anyway, because it basically drops off. We have about 6 foot there currently, going east before it just falls off the face of the earth, down the lower cabins. But we're gonna have to build a retaining wall build up to make the backside of the garage shed work anyway.
all right. Any other questions?
This your residence?
No. We spend probably 4 months a year there. Summer and a little bit in the winter.
Has the owners association looked at it?
We have an architectural review committee, and a board. The architectural review committee has to approve anything. Obviously, our setbacks follow the county. So once the architectural review committee reviews it, which they already have done, they've already been there, then they will make a recommendation to the board. And then the board, actually, it takes 85% of all members to get it to pass. So we still
That
haven't.
hasn't been done yet, though.
No.
We haven't even gone to the board yet with it because we still have to, we need to make sure that the variance is going to be granted before we take it to the board and have them vote and then it not be granted.
Because that would be the first thing the board would just send it back and say, well, you get the variance and then we'll review it.
Okay. Any other further questions or comments?
Make a motion for the public hearing.
Thank you. That's been a 2 minutes to close.
And I would just be mindful, depending on what you guys do, if you need to know of opening it back up.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. Any other people from the audience that have a comment about this particular? That's one we had out.
Well, like I say, just about every house down there has a 2-foot barrier. But that,
Yeah. Something like that.
The power pole there as well is, what, how old is it?
Nineteen
It needs to be
seventy-two.
replaced regardless, I mean, it's cracking.
It looks in bad shape.
the power pole that they're talking about can be moved 12 foot. And then it won't be between buildings, it'll be offset to one building. And it won't affect anything. But they said the downslope, but if they put a new pole in, he's got pictures of the pole is junk. All the bolts and stuff up on top can slide right through the pole. So they need a new pole, and if they put a new pole in, they'll raise it up anyhow, have a higher pole anyhow. So they would not have any problem. But I don't know if you have your own, if you have a pole moved or a new pole put in. It's both the landowner's responsibility.
Usually is.
This is their pole that is bad, it should have to be replaced anyhow. And it will have to be replaced someday.
Well, like I said, we don't get service off that pole, it's on the property line, so. I mean, we're probably not responsible for replacing that one, because we don't have any service off it, they're just basically running power through our property as an easement.
Okay, and sir, I don't think you identified yourself just for the record since your name's.
I'm on the paper, Bert Taylor.
Bert Ehlers. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comment.
I've been there for 30 years.
All right. All right,
Seen it
Angie.
all.
I believe Angie had a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments? All those in favor, closing say aye. Aye. All right. Discussion? Well, the first thing that strikes me, being a former MMEU employee, is 2 foot's not quite enough to get a bucket truck through to service the pole, so. Seems to me that you need to figure out a solution with, it's Macoka Valley, correct?
Correct.
Right, forward. You know, I would feel comfortable about supporting anything about the variance, because you can't close them off the service there, but it sounds like you've had discussions with someone there.
Yeah, today is.
There's calling you back.
And it just came to light
Richard.
on Friday afternoon.
It was Friday. I think it was like,
So I mean, we were.
I seen an email on Saturday and I'm like, oh, great, for me, this is good timing, but
I was hoping you would see it sooner.
it's fine.
We could still grant a variance and that, and whatever happens between the homeowner and MMU, like, or Hope Valley Electric, that wouldn't have any impact on our decision here. That would be between them and when they build, correct? Or would we have to make a granting of variance based on whatever satisfactory agreement between the homeowner and the Hope Valley
I
Electric?
really think you'd want to have,
Include that in the motion.
yeah, that's my thought. And then even if it's far enough back, they wouldn't even need a variance.
The proposed shutter garage.
Right.
Oh, we still need a.
We'd still need a variance.
We just have to move,
It would,
if we could move utilities.
You need to move the utilities. I mean, if you're still gonna get your 2 foot,
Right.
yes.
we'd still have
Yes.
a variance.
But if you didn't get the variance, if the Macoka Valley Electric, so you do what you think you need to do. But
I mean, I'd be fine with it being contingent upon, us having an agreement that gets sent from Macoka Valley to you guys, obviously.
I'd make a motion granting the variance with a condition that they have a satisfactory plan in place with Macoka Valley Electric regarding the utilities.
Okay.
And it sounded like, was he able to come out, ski planning,
This week.
he was gonna come, they were gonna send a field.
What's the
staff out.
satisfactory agreement?
That the utility company either says has an easement to the pole.
I think we need a,
Yes, we'll do an underground wire here and run different utilities, or we'll replace the pole, or we'll move the pole.
I think we need a notice from Macoka Valley Electric in writing that it's been resolved to their satisfaction and they no longer have
And they're in agreement to
easement
allow that builder.
issues.
Okay. So just to summarize the motion then, so we have it all on the record.
There. Okay, so this is what I have. Grant the variance with the condition that there is a satisfactory plan in place with Macokota Valley. Also that we receive a notice in writing from Macokota Valley Electric saying that a satisfactory plan has been put in place, is reached.
I like that motion.
And that one, that one, that one.
Okay. Motion's been made.
That's a motion for a 2-foot setback from the property.
Yeah.
Right, yep. With the contingency or the condition that MVEC agrees to that 2-foot by working out the electric schematic back there to their satisfaction.
And if not, if it's less than, if it's greater than 2 foot, you guys would be okay with it if there was other greater than 2 foot, because it's not less than 2 foot, but, okay.
So if we end up finding out we have to go 4 feet to make it all work, I mean, is it still approved?
That would be, to me, that would be satisfactory resolution.
But that 4-foot would be driven by the Macokota Valley's requirements.
Right.
Yeah.
We still have to have a written notice from Macokota Valley that it's been resolved.
Okay,
Well, we could say grant, a variance of no greater than a 2-foot side setback.
No
with-
less, no
No
less.
less than, sorry, yes, no less than. Yeah, no less than, sorry, not no greater than. With the
Okay.
conditions in place, okay,
All right,
got it.
I think we have it. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the motion for docket number 23-18.
Thank you.
Very good. At this time, I'd like to bring this meeting to a close with a motion from the board to close the meeting. Okay. After all that. Do we have a motion?
How much motion we adjourn?
And a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. I thought it.